How to make a boho style crochet handbag. So personally, I use a 10mm thick timber crochet hook, and for this session I'm going to use turquoise 10mm thick cotton rope yarn with a polyester black filling. In order to create the first loop, you will need to twist the end of the rope around your 2 fingers and put the crochet hook through the first loop and pull the other bit inside. And that way you lock the first knot and we will create the beginning of the entire bag. Make sure you lock the knot quite securely. You can pull the thread, the yarn a little bit closer to yourself, because this is going to be the first and the main bit of the entire handbag. So once the first knot is done, we're going to create a series of loops. In my case, I'm going to create 20 loops in order to create a base for the rest of the pattern. So as you can see, I'm putting the longer bit of the rope of the yarn around the timber hook, then I pick it up and I pull it through the first loop, and in that way I create that sort of chain. So just to let you know, I'm going to use a 200 meters of yarn for the entire project of this handbag. Each pack has 100 meters and I'm going to use 2 of them. So the beginning for most of the crochet items would always be the same. So you create the first knot. From the first knot you create a series of loops, and then from the series of loops you go up with the same pattern. Whether it will be a rectangular rag or carpet, or perhaps you want to make a coaster, you will always start from the base series of loops, from the base chain, the way we did right now. In order to create a pattern, we're going to place a crochet hook through each of those loops, and we're going to pull the entire pattern up. So let's do it. As you can see, I hold a crochet hook inside the first loop. So I'm going to place the hook inside the second available loop. I'm going to twist the rope around it and pull it, create 2 loops on the hook, and then create a third one and pull it again. So as you can see, the pattern is pretty easy. We're going to continue the same knot all the way up until we create a pretty long rectangular shape for the handbag. So now I'm going to place the crochet hook in the second available loop. Again, twist the rope, pull it out, take the third bit, again twist it, twist the crochet hook, and pull the third bit through the 2 available loops. The chain will bend slightly at the beginning of the process, but the more you will knit, the easier it will be to hold the entire crochet. So saying that, we are creating a series of knots on the first chain. So let's get into the process. As I said, the chain will bend slightly, but it will all go away the more we knit. Now creating a last knot in our first row for our handbag. As I said, you can straighten down the entire rope slightly so that it gets less bendy. But now we're going to create the first knot to start the second row of our pattern. So this is where we finished. We have a 1 loop available, and we're going to pull a second loop, create a second loop in order to create a second row for the pattern. You can notice that we created another series of loops, a little chain on top, and we're going to continue the same way, placing the crochet hook through the first available loop, then pulling yarn inside and creating our first knot in our second row. In that way, we created an entire row, and we're going to continue the same way. We're going to place a third row on top of the second one, the fourth one on top of the third one, and that's how we're going to continue. So this is how the pattern will look after a while. I'm going to show you how to fold the handbag so that you have an idea of how we're going to create it in the first place, but at this stage you can use it even as a rag. The structure of the bag is pretty simple. We're creating some sort of envelope by folding the 2 sides of our rectangular shape. But first, let's finish the pattern and close the last knot we have created. So we can leave around 5 centimeters of the yarn and place the remaining end of the yarn inside the pattern. We can now close the sides of the handbag by placing a longer bits of a rope on the 2 sides of our handbag. I'm going to use about 50 centimeters long yarn in order to tie up one side and then cross it on the top and go to the other side to close the handbag. So as you can see, I'm looking for the empty spaces to put the thread, to put the yarn inside, inside the knots we've created. Once the one side is done, we're going to place the yarn on top of the bag and start another side. So in that way, we don't need to close the side twice, and we can just continue with one piece of yarn. So the entire process is the same. I'm placing the rope inside the empty loops on the side of the handbag, and I'm securing the last bit, the end of the rope, by making a final knot and securing the entire handbag. So I wanted to experiment a little, and I decided to use a standard structure of a plait in order to create a handle for my handbag. As you can see, I previously prepared and created 3 piles of the yarn. They all approximately the same length, and we're just going to tie it up all together and create one handle in a pattern of a plait. So the plait is nearly done, and now I'm going to place the remaining ends of the plait inside our pattern, inside our crochet. So as you can see, I've placed them and I tied it all together to secure the entire handle inside our handbag. The cotton yarn is very good because it fixes, the material actually fixes and tightens up very well. So even if you will tie it up, once or twice, it will be secure enough for you to hold the handbag actually on your arm, on your shoulder, and actually carry, stuff inside the handbag. As you can see, I created sort of a tassel from one side, from the remaining ends of my, of my handle. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So as you can see, I have the remaining bits, and I'm going to place all of them inside, inside the handbag in the pattern. So this is how the final result looks like. As you can see, the handle is secure enough. It just takes a little bit of a space from the inside, as you can see from the knot. But other than that, it's secure. You can place a brush on it, or you can place a button on it, however you prefer. But the handbag is ready to use. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you have any questions, comment below.